It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. You know, earlier last week I did a video and I talked a little bit about my military career. I'm not sure why I'm thinking about my military career. It's 40 years ago. I guess being trapped in the house, you know, making your mind wander. But anyway, in that video I talked about how we were getting ready to go down there to Cuba to guard the embassy. Well, we never had to go down there, so that was the rest of that story. But instead, we ended up going to Wisconsin, to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. And we went there because that's where the Cuban refugees that decided to leave Cuba, when they came to the United States, they were processed through Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. And think about this old military complex, and they had divided it up into 3 sections. They turned the old hospital into the prison because there was a whole lot of convicts who decided they wanted to come to America too, because, you know, the Cuban government said anybody that wants to come can come, and we allowed to let them come to try to give them a better life. And then, so we had the prisoners in the old hospital. Then we had a compound set up for families and single women. So if you were part of a family or you were a single woman, you were in this place. And over here we had another compound of single men. Well, we had a big fence going between those single men and the single women with the families. You can imagine the shenanigans that went on there. And we were there just to kind of keep things into control. You know, obviously they were being guarded till they were processed out. And we had to filter out who was who and where they were going to go. But I got to tell you something, my friends. That was an eye-opening experience for a 20-year-old. And I'll never forget when I was sitting on the gate that day, this gentleman came up to me, and he was probably in his 50s at that time. And I said, so what are you going to do? You know, you came to America. He spoke great English. I did not speak Spanish at all. And he told me, he said he was a neurosurgeon in Cuba. Lived on the beach, had a great life. In Cuba, they had the haves and the have-nots. That whole country's always been that way. Well, he was one of the haves. And he decided that for his family, that he would come to America and leave all behind. He left everything behind. He left his house on the beach. He left his high-paying job, and he came to America. And then he went on to say that, you know, he couldn't even be a doctor here because they wouldn't recognize his license from Cuba. So he was going to work at a sushi restaurant that one of his cousins had owned in Miami, Florida. Think about that. That man was so determined to find a better life that he was willing to give up everything he had in search of it. And then I look at my friends today. I look at Americans today and how we're arguing with each other because we don't want to confine ourselves. How we constantly, we're so damn spoiled, we think everything should be about us, not about the greater good for the country. And it disturbs the hell out of me. And then I start thinking of some of the stubbornnesses we see in business. We see a whole lot of stubbornness to maintain. And that stubbornness is really based on the same reasons why we argue about things that make us uncomfortable. We don't have any fortitude. Where the hell is the fortitude? Why the hell are we not looking at this like, you know what, we got to buckle down for a few weeks. Let's just damn buckle down. Because when it's over, we can all prosper again. Where's our hope in that? Where's our planning for that? We got to stop this nonsense about thinking everything has to be perfect for us all the time, because it's not. I remember standing on that guard shack and listening to a young lady playing the guitar, a folk singer. And I started thinking to myself, what would happen if America got so bad that we all had to leave our country? And we all had to leave everything behind and start all over. Would people like, you know, Joan Baez be behind a fence playing her guitar? Who would the basketball player that's famous in the United States be playing basketball, throwing his ball into a peach bushel that's cut? Because there was a lot of them doing that. There was artists painting on sheets. How many of our famous artists would just say, okay, we're done, we're going, we're looking for a better life? It's time for America to pay the price. It's time for us to have a little bit of sacrifice. Nobody said life should be easy forever. So quit your damn whining and do what you're supposed to do for the good of mankind. Maybe I'm not the person that should be saying this. Who really cares? One thing about Ray, I never held back what I thought I should say. So my friends, I don't know if this story hits home with you or not. All I know is this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.